Welcome to the Future Series. I'm your host, Anthony Dan, and for those of you that are new to the podcast, we talk with real founders about building a business for the future. So whether you're scaling your business currently or starting your first side hustle, we aim to give you the nuggets of information to help you succeed in the future of work. So today we've got Elias Hirschbichler on the podcast from Fibionic. How's it going, Elias?
Hi Anthony, thanks for having me. I'm very good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So for those people listening that haven't heard of Fibionic, would you be able just to give us a quick intro of yourself, what you do and what Fibionic is?
Yeah, certainly. So at Fibionic, we basically create and produce lightweight products. We always say we produce lightweight products inspired by nature. I will explain that in a second, what that means. And we have, let's say, developed a disruptive and revolutionary production process that has the potential to substantially, let's say, change the way how lightweight composites are made. Maybe to start at the very beginning, why is it even such a relevant topic? So lightweight design itself is very powerful. You can say that roughly 80% of hardware products would somehow benefit from lightweight design, as it comes along with a higher efficiency, improved product performance, and it also comes along with lower emissions of the product, especially if we consider any kind of moving parts, I would say. Now, why do we still have or see so less, let's say, lightweight products in real mass applications? And the reason is actually that traditional manufacturing processes are simply either too expensive, too slow, or too wasteful, limiting their widespread application for mass production. And that's exactly where we as Fibionic come into game, as our big mission is to make lightweighting affordable and sustainable, especially for mass application at the mass market.
Amazing. So you help not just with the software side with the designs inspired by nature, but also the actual manufacturing, mass manufacturing for companies.
Exactly. So basically, we have, I would say, two very important pillars within our technology we are following. So the one hand side is really, let's say, as I mentioned, this nature-inspired DNA we are following. So basically, we are really learning from the brilliance of nature, which shows us already exactly how to build up structures. Yeah, think of a wing of a dragonfly, where you can see local reinforcements only where they are really necessary, and we transfer this to technical parts. Yeah, we are placing reinforcement endless fibers like carbon or glass endless fibers according to the load path, so we can save a lot of weight by simultaneously increasing the performance of the product. So this is the one pillar, and as you mentioned, we are also very much focusing on the production side. Yeah, how we can bring these advantages to a scalable production. And this is why we developed our Fibionic fiber placement technology, short FFP, which is capable to produce these structures following an airstream technology. Yeah, so basically we are precision all the fibers in just milliseconds of one layer by shooting them into channels. And in the end, we can, let's say, come up with cycle times of roughly 1 minute per finished reinforcement component, which we call a fiber skeleton. And this is, let's say, I would say the combination and the secret source behind Fibionic. Yeah, so really bringing the advantages of additive manufacturing following a bionic design principle to the mass markets, to a scalable production.
And are you just focused on like Germany or Europe at the moment, or are you looking globally for this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, somehow you need to start. So we at the beginning very much focusing on local markets. Our first product, which is in series, which is a bicycle saddle reinforcement structure, has been developed with an Italian partner. So it's Selle Italia. We had very also close, let's say, geographic distances, which helped us in, let's say, developing the part, because one of our main principles is always, let's say, creating parts very close to the markets, to the consumer needs. And of course, in this matter, it helped us in focusing more on, let's say, the Central European region. In the end, I would say we have a technology, or we created a technology which has really a global application range. So thinking from now on into the future, 5 years, 10 years, we want to, let's say, really set a new technological standard in the production of lightweight composites. Yeah. So whenever, for instance, injection molding comes to its limits, yeah, because they need local reinforcements, engineers should think of Fibionic as the solution for, let's say, increasing the stability of the product where it's needed. So that's our goal from now. Yeah.
Amazing. And working closely with these companies as well and collaborating with them globally. So if there's another company similar that likes the technology and wants to be able to produce it as well in America or Australia, they'll be able to come to you and be able to get the hardware and the software and be able to start producing.
Exactly. So that's our goal. So becoming, let's say, the ecosystem provider for, let's say, the production of lightweight composites following the Fibionic fiber placement principle, and we provide everything which is necessary to, let's say, making this possible. Yeah. So from the machinery to the software and the input material, everything will be supplied by following a kind of a platform model where Fibionic orchestrates the different kind of pillars which are necessary to enable the production on a global base. So we will, let's say, transition and develop the company Fibionic from what we are now, more a service and production company, towards a technology provider, yeah, being the company developing further our system.
Okay, cool. It'd be great just to rewind now and just hear maybe a bit about your backstory and where you came from and how you got to be in Fibionic and how you became a co-founder there. But where did it all start for you? Where did you get into, or how did you get into this space?
Yeah, let me maybe start with the two other co-founders. So we are actually three. I'm the one with a non-technical background, so I'm coming more from a business-related background. Let me start with Thomas. So Thomas is our material science expert, and he basically already in his studies and within his PhD dealt with the question, how can we build up structures in a very efficient way, yeah. So minimal resource consumption, maximal performance in terms of stiffness, in terms of durability, by increasingly by also addressing the question of, let's say, being as light as possible. And that's how he basically came up with this bionic design principle. So think of a dragonfly's wing, for instance, yeah. So we basically really learn from the brilliance of nature. There you can see that, let's say, reinforcements are only positioned where really the stresses occur, and you can, let's say, reduce the reinforcement material to an absolute minimum. And we basically transfer this principle to technical parts, yeah, and making them, let's say, as light as possible by placing reinforcement materials such as carbon or glass fibers according to the load path. And that's exactly what Thomas dealt with in his studies. Yeah, so he came up very quickly. Okay, if we only position reinforcements where the load occurs and where the stresses are, we can, let's say, save a lot of weight and material, and let's say, increase the performance of the part. Now, this is also where he teamed up with Johannes, so our second co-founder. Johannes is our mechatronics expert. So he basically brings in this machine building knowledge, and together they address the question. Okay, the advantages are quite obvious, yeah, as already explained, but there is really a lack of a scalable production technology out there. And that's how they together then created what we call the Fibionic fiber placement technology, short FFP. And with this process, we can reach very fast cycle times and at the same time, let's say, producing and these advantages in a scalable production environment. So in the end, we can build up, let's say, these reinforcement structures in cycle times of roughly 1 minute, which is game changing if you really want to, let's say, bring these local reinforcements to the mass markets. This is basically how we came up with technology and my part in this. So I'm coming from a business background. I was focusing pretty early on digital transformation projects before I joined Fibionic, always with, let's say, I would say, this strategy lens I worked out in my professional career, and that's also my part, which I take over within Fibionic. So more covering, I would say, the business related questions. Have a look on the financing stuff, talking about marketing. So this is basically how I round up the founders team.
So, and they started the technical co-founders back in 2021, was it? So it's been going about 5 years, and then you came in a couple of years ago.
Exactly. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. So we are still here and stronger than ever, I would say. So it's 5 years now, and I guess will also be somehow a question we will talk in a bit more detail. But we just recently closed our seed funding round in the beginning of this year, which has been also a major milestone in terms of how our let's say company is developing. Yeah, so we scaled up our team from 6 at the beginning of this year to now we are 20 people in total by today. So we could, let's say, build up a very strong team in just a couple of weeks and months. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, definitely, it'd be great to talk a bit more about the funding side and how involved you've got and what that was like. But before we delve into that, coming back then, so the technical co-founders basically had it running for 3 years. I assume probably went through lots of designs and this and that and ups and downs and failures, etc. And then when you came in 3 years in, was it just yourself and the other 2 co-founders then? And did you have a product that you were looking to then scale and launch, or were you really involved in trying to find out this sort of first product market fit that you could actually take to market and start to grow a business from?
Yeah. So maybe if I start this way. So the first really breakthrough was when the first patent was granted. So this was really the starting point. Yeah, somehow. So we knew, okay, there is IP secured in the background of Fibionic, and that could actually, from a theoretical point of view, work. So this was basically the first point. Yeah, we then pretty quickly also started addressing real world problems with real customers. So we quickly went away from, let's say, developing a technology within the laboratory towards a really market-oriented, let's say, development approach. We had our really, one of our first customers was Selle Italia, so it's a bicycle component producer within Italy. They're focusing especially on bicycle seats, and together with them we somehow developed our first fiber skeleton structure in a real world application. Yeah. And this is also what we are producing at the moment in series. So we are already, let's say, moved one step forward from just prototyping towards now having a real serious product out in the market. And I would say this is somehow, when I joined the company, this was already the mentality which has been formed and which we, let's say, developed further to really focus on the market, have a good market fit, yes, a product market fit, have a good problem solution fit. So really focus on the pain points which are out there in the market, in the different segments. So they are all also differ among our, let's say, focus markets. And from that on, let's say, start developing the solutions. So that's something which is very important in how we are doing business, because if you really focusing just on a solution, maybe even developing everything in a kind of laboratory setup, you quickly can end up, let's say, developing something away from the actual customer needs. So that's how we, let's say, set up our business strategy.
Yeah. And like I said, when you joined as well, what was it like coming in as a co-founder with two other founders? What was that whole process like?
Yeah, so also here give you a bit of a background. So I was somehow involved, let's say, in creating Fibionic from really the day one onwards, but more from an external perspective. So it was really Thomas and Johannes who, let's say, created this very awesome technology behind Fibionic, yes, with the FFP process. When it comes to, let's say, creating the right business model, having the business plan set up, I was somehow involved because I'm also know, let's say, Thomas and Johannes from a private background, so we are all friends actually, and that's how I got into this idea of what is Fibionic is doing and this overall, let's say, project from an early stage on. And yeah, was actually it was very honoring for me, I would say, when they asked me if I would like to join them as a third co-founder, bringing in this more business-related perspective. And I said, yes, let's do that. It just took me, I don't know, a couple of days to rethink that. And then I said, yeah, let's go together as three co-founders behind Fibionic. And back in the days, it was a team of 4 to 5 people, yeah. And this was somehow the setup we had until actually the end of last year. And as already mentioned, with the funding round, we somehow had now the potential to grow up the team, and it really also very much, I would say, changed the way how we are operating. Yeah, from a more, let's say, being the people who are doing everything towards a more, let's say, orchestrating our talents which we could hire. But it's fun. We are on the journey, and it's yeah, it's very insightful and much fun as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so no, that sounds great. That's awesome that you were part of the journey from day one, really, from the outside, and then have been brought in. And it's great that you're doing it with your friends, and it sounds like a great co-founding atmosphere.
Yeah,
How
exactly. So we maybe just to give you one more piece of information. So we are basically all coming from Tyrol. Yeah, so it's in the western part of Austria. Somehow we ended up all in the same village. Yeah, so we are also from a geographic point of view, we are pretty close. Yeah, which also helps us, I would say, in decision making and so on. Yeah, so we are pretty close. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say.
That's great. I did see a little infographic yesterday actually with the top companies around the world and how the co-founders met. And a lot of it was friends, classmates, family as well. So for those people listening, you don't know your co-founder, you might already know them. They might be your friend or you might have gone to school with them. You never know.
Yeah, definitely, because you know how these people are reacting, what is basically their character, and that's very much important in the journey of building up a company, I would say, because you need to rely on these characters, on these people, and there will be tough times, yeah. So I can tell you that. So yeah, so it's very good if you have a bit of a background behind this person, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. If we maybe go on then, so you've been officially a co-founder then for a couple of years. What did you have to do to build up to the seed round in terms of on the business side of the company? Were there specific milestones you wanted to hit before you raised your funding?
Yeah, I mean that there are a couple of challenges we had to address. So first of all, I would say technology-wise, yeah. So bringing this first setup to have, let's say, not only the theory built up, but already a working process. So this is also something we had from very early day on, a machinery which was actually producing parts in following this let's say production um, discipline and technology we build up. So this is one part. Of course, you need to show something, so that helped us a lot. Yeah, to bring in, let's say, also when we talk about investors, bringing in investors, show them what we are doing. So it's something you can really touch and feel, which is makes us very different from software-related companies, I would say. So this is one thing which helped us a lot. And the other thing is what I already mentioned, to have really this close development with real customers. So not only developing, I would say, any kind of demonstration part, yeah, really following, let's say, the strategy of having a real part, like the bicycle saddle. Yeah, you can transfer it to other parts. We are, let's say, developing for instance, in the sports and leisure segment. We are also very much focusing from early days on shoe sole reinforcement. Yeah, coming to UAVs and drones. We are now looking at propellers and frames. So this has been something which we really pointed out. So to have this products in mind which provide value to the customer from day one. Yeah, and also to have, let's say, this outlook already pictured quite clear. Yeah, so what is the potential behind this technology? Where can we provide specific value? Yeah, what kind of verticals we would like to address in what kind of stage? So these are all questions we had to answer before, let's say, going into preparing the seed funding round for us. I mean, anyway, these are also questions investors, let's say, address. And I would say we did a quite good job in preparing for this. And in the end, yeah, it was successful and it worked out. So I would say being very close to the problem, always rephrasing. If it's changing, if you get new information, you also have to pivot. That's, I think, a capability which is very important for any kind of startup. And yeah, we're still doing that by, on the other side, really focusing and following a clear plan. So you cannot, of course, every day change the way how you do business. But in the end, having a clear big picture, following that, and at the end being agile and capable of pivot if it's necessary.
Yeah. And so you raised 3 million euros in March this year. What was that like, and how did you celebrate with your co-founders?
I mean, that was a big and huge milestone. It was, in the end, also a lot of work. So, first of all, let's say, winning the right, or finding the right investors. It was a long journey, yeah, to attract the investors we wanted to have as part of our investors team, and then also closing the round. So it was a lot of paperwork, a lot of meetings. Yeah, so that's also something you have to keep in mind. So it's not like you say, I want to raise a seed funding round and that takes, I don't know, 2 months. So it was more a process of 1 year, I would say, to really finalize the round. In the end, we had the convenient, let's say, situation that we have been massively oversubscribed, so we could really choose for the right investors partners. And I really have to say, we have very valuable investors as part of our team here. We get a lot of input from their side. They also help us proactively, let's say, growing our business. So of course it was a great release in the end, yeah, to finalize this round, and now to more focus again on, let's say, really the content perspective, yeah, of growing the business, yeah, technology-wise and also go-to-market perspective-wise. Yeah, so it was quite exhausting, but in the end, with the results, we are very, very happy.
That's great. Did you all celebrate? Did you all meet up back in your hometown?
Actually, I remember the day of signing. It was the 19th of December. Yeah, so it was pretty close before Christmas. We were meeting up after signing at the office actually, and had just a beer, and we're just pretty happy. So that was it actually, to be honest. But it was the best Christmas present in the end we could think of. Yeah, so. We had then a really good Christmas week, I would say, where we could calm down and then really start in the beginning of this year with full energy. So that was pretty good timing, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. And you said as well, so you've grown now from, was it 6 people up to 19 and continuing that growth?
Yeah, so we today we are already 20 people, so we are still growing quite fastly. Yeah, so I would say, from a hiring perspective, we were primarily firstly focusing on, let's say, setting up the R&D team. Now we have a very strong R&D and development team. And then the second, let's say, part of the team is really now focusing on the execution team, as I call it. So consisting now of salespeople, marketing, yeah, founders, associates. So this is now, let's say, more or less our focus. And yeah, we could, let's say, find, I would say, very talented people in each and every position by now. We are very happy that it worked out that efficiently. Yeah, and yeah, it's now, as I already mentioned, a different way of how we do business from, if you compare it from 1 year ago. Yeah, yeah, but it's going really into the right direction, I would say. So we can now really focus on how we can, let's say, enter and communicate with the different verticals on the one hand side. Yeah, I already mentioned, so some of our verticals, say sports and leisure, the drone and UAV sector, the humanoid robotics sector, which is quite new for us, but we already have here also a confirmed benchmarking project, which was also a great success. And we also are talking about selected applications in the consumer electronics area, so talking about wearables. So this is one part of the team, and the other part is really, let's say, addressing more, let's say, hardware development topics. Yeah, from really creating the parts, yeah, calculating them, creating the first prototypes, until really the deep R&D, technological R&D work. Yeah, how can we improve our production process? How can we, let's say, improve specific parts in the production line and so on? So we are also working, of course, extensively on this part to making our process as efficient as possible.
And how, like, it sounds great. It's an area that is fascinating, and obviously with the humanoid robotics side, it's growing hugely. All of the companies going through YC, etc., robotics companies. What are the challenges that you're facing as a hardware company at the moment? Because there's so many software companies that are coming out and growing really, really quickly and scaling really, really quickly, especially with AI. Barriers to entry and growth have dropped hugely. How is that on a hardware side, a hardware company? And what barriers are sort of there, or speed bumps have you got along the way in terms of your growth?
Yeah, I would say, as you mentioned, unlike software companies, deep tech businesses need to prove not only the technology, yeah, so that the technology works, but also that it can work reliable, yeah, economically, and for us, especially relevant at the industrial scale, yeah. So these very much is different, I would say, from software. We have much longer, let's say, development and iterations cycles, obviously, as we are involving hardware components. But on the other side, I would say we have also a much higher, let's say, security framework, I would say, yeah, in terms of having, it's not so easy to copy what we are doing, actually. So obviously we have our IP and IP strategy, but in terms of, let's say, the entire technology stack, it has so many, let's say, pieces of specific knowledge included, which makes us, I would say, more resilient. Yeah, especially if we're talking about an environment where a lot of AI is coming up. Yeah, I would say this very much differentiates us from software companies. You have to really prove each step. Yeah, you have hardware components involved. Everything needs to work with each other. And then I can just, let's say, again, mention what I mentioned earlier on. So really not developing in-house in a laboratory, really, let's say, do a code development process. Yeah, so I mentioned Sally Italia, so we had many iterations with them. Yeah, I mean, when we started with them, we don't even had let's say, a functional process. Yeah, but they believed in us. They really liked the idea, and in the end, now we have a quite stable functional process, which, let's say, provides them with thousands of parts on a monthly base. So it somehow really worked out. But we really needed that feedback. Yeah, so feedback from not only the customer but even the consumer. Yeah, so the pro riders. How should we change the geometry? How we can, let's say, translate that into our inlay structures. Yeah, and yeah, that's in the end very much different from, let's say, creating a software business where each user, I would say, or customer is quite similar, yeah, or can be. Of course, it depends on the application area. But for us, let's say that the different kind of verticals, the different kind of customers require, yeah, different kind of have different sets of needs, and we try to translate that into our production processes and technologies. Yeah.
That's great. And it sounds like such a cool company. It's going to be really exciting seeing where you guys go and how you grow. What does the future hold over the next 5-10 years? I know you mentioned obviously these different areas that are growing really well, but where do you see yourselves in sort of
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our mission is to make, in the end, lightweighting affordable and sustainable for mass markets. Yeah, so our goal is whenever it comes to, let's say, local reinforcement, yeah, think of injection molding. So injection molding is really our use case number one. Yeah, so a lot of parts are made in following injection molding. Whenever there is the possibility to do it with this kind of technology, you go for it because it's so flexible in terms of you can, let's say, include functional integrations and so on, and it's highly scalable, so you have very short cycle times. Of course, it's only applicable for parts that are produced in high volumes and numbers. But whenever, let's say, injection molding, for instance, comes to its limit and they think of, okay, we need a local reinforcement, they should think of Fibionic as the solution to go. So we really want to be a new technological standard for local reinforcements. Yeah, so that's our big goal, I would say, and to make it more concrete. And I did not mention that. So we have basically a staged business model. So by now we're focusing on the first two pillars of our business model, which is really creating within our services the right prototypes, so the right fiber skeleton structures which can reinforce parts. We by now, let's say, focusing also on the second pillar, producing these skeleton structures in high volumes by following our FFP process. We have our first, let's say, functional series production machinery, which is capable to produce roughly 500,000 parts per year. And then it really is, let's say, the third pillar of our business model, which we refer as solution sales. In the long run, we want to become a technology provider, yes, meaning we provide producing companies, manufacturers with the production equipment, with the necessary software we are also developing and further fostering in-house, and also with the necessary input material. So this is basically our goal to, let's say, have this kind of solution sales model in place, which comes along in our vision with a platform model. Yeah, so you can, let's say, basically use and apply the Fibionic platform to have everything at hand you need for a scalable composite production following our technology. Yeah,
That's amazing. So companies or people could buy your production, your technology, and set something up in Australia, for example, and start producing lightweight.
Exactly, and then for instance, need specific filaments, yeah, to produce their customer necessary reinforcement fiber skeleton structure, yeah, with a specific thermoplastic material inside. So we can supply all of this, and that's our goal, yeah, to really focusing on how we can further develop this kind of ecosystem, which then, let's say, boosts a global transformation in how shallow-shaped composites basically are produced, I would say, yeah. So this is important to mention. So we are not solving every kind of problem and issue in the composite industry, but whenever it comes to high volume productions, when it comes to kind of what I just mentioned, shallow shaped composite structures, we can make let's say a difference and provide a technology which is also scalable for really mass production, and also in the end cost efficient. Yeah, it's highly optimized. We can provide, let's say, all of this to our customers on a global range. Yeah, so that's really where we are striving to, yeah, to transfer now these advantages we already see in project like I mentioned with Sally Italia, to different kind of industries and verticals, and in the end to have really this global transformation equipped with our ecosystem.
Yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing it grow and how you guys develop over the next few years. Before we sort of round off and finish as well, though, it'd be great to get your thoughts and any sort of little nuggets or words of wisdom that you could pass on to the future founder if there was someone listening that is maybe working on a project, something in the hardware space or not. But what words of advice would you give them in terms of actually setting up or founding or coming in as a co-founder to a company?
Yeah, so I will give a couple of advices which basically hopefully wrap up what I just said. So the first one is start with the problem, not with the technology and the solution. That's always what we did, and which was very much necessary. So of course we also are, let's say, very convinced of what we are doing. But we love our solutions, but you should also love the problem. And then let's say always adapt and pivot to this kind of new market needs. So that's one thing I would say. Then second, as you already mentioned, the difference between software and hardware companies. So build resilience. So really create something which has a kind of a background, a strong backbone, I would say. And it's a marathon. It's not something, especially if you think of hardware, it's not something you build up in weeks or months. It's actually years of hard work, I would say. So resilience all requires, let's say, a stamina. So that's something I would really give as a advice. So to be stamina and to build up resilience technology, especially if it's hardware related. Then again, stay close to reality. So it's very much important that you develop alongside your customers. I think that's probably even the most important learning I would give away to future founders. And finally, also to think bigger than your first product. So it's really, as I just mentioned, so we started with an idea. We came up with the first prototypes. We scaled it into serious production, but we always thought about, let's say, developing and creating this ecosystem I tried to explain before. So having to be brave enough basically to really think above, and what could happen if everything works out. So I think that is very important to keep that in mind. So where do you want to develop your company to?
Amazing. No, thanks so much. Really, really good words of wisdom there. And yeah, absolutely. I think even with software companies as well, you're getting these forward deployed engineers now that are there speaking to the customer as you're building. So it's becoming more and more important to be there right at the front. Before we wrap off then, if there's anyone that's listening that really wanted to get in touch or reach out, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
I think one way is just go to our website. So it's Fibionic.com, and there you have all the information you need. You basically can directly email us. You can download our specific one-pager information. So what is our technology like? We also have, let's say, information specifically on the different verticals where we provide, let's say, specific advantages. So this is one way to let's say, get in touch with us. And the other way, I would say, follow us on LinkedIn. Also, again, Fibionic, you get all the updates we are posting here constantly on a weekly basis to stay updated and tuned what is coming up next. So there are a lot of developments so far, that can I already say, and I think that's the easiest way. And otherwise just follow the information on the website.
Well, look, thank you so much for taking the time and coming and speaking to us here today. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you as well, Anthony. It was a pleasure.
No problem. Well, yeah, we'll be following your journey closely. Thank you very much for coming on, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.